This channel has grown quite a lot over the last year, and it's all thanks to you guys. With being able to cover quite a lot of Diablo 2 Resurrected over this last year, I wanted to do my 2023 channel recap, not only for people that have already been subscribed to the channel for quite a while, as a way to be able to go revisit some of the videos that maybe they want to be able to try out to be able to expand the things that they're able to do within the game, but for those that are new to the channel and want to know what kind of content to expect as far as the build guides, the things that we do to test the limits within the game, different things that are highlighted on this channel, and a lot more. There's some videos that I definitely feel that you guys should go check out. With all that said, here's my favorite highlights from the channel in 2023. I hope you all enjoy the video. There was a lot of content that I was able to cover in this last year, from making build guides, with some of them being endgame focused, the 24k damage Shaman Barbarian. The weapons are dual death webs, both socketed with a 5/5 poison facet. The playstyle of this build centers around find a mob, whirlwind through them, and keep it moving to the next one, as it doesn't take more than 1 or 2 hits for the majority of monsters to end up dying, and if anything, the Mercenary will come in and clean up the mess of anything that doesn't immediately die. The Demon Machine Sorceress. Now for most enemies, this will very easily kill everything within 1 or 2 hits, but there will still be some, on players 8, that will take a bit to be able to kill. But for those that would want to farm in level 85 areas, you wouldn't need to go any higher than players 1, as any super unique drop odds would be the same regardless of player's difficulty. This build honestly doesn't need you to use static field for most monsters that you run into, but to show the differences, here's without using static field, and here's with using static field. Terrorized Dragadin. This build can be quite ridiculous, with certain areas of the game not even needing you to use Zeal, but simply just walk around and have the pulse damage kill everything for you. For example, I'm not going to be using Zeal at all, but I'm just going to walk around and watch how the pulse damage kills all the cows. With the gameplay, for anyone who'd be curious as to which player settings I'm using for my build guides, the past, presently on screen, and in the future, down in the bottom left corner is what the example gameplay being shown is currently at. For countless years, fire builds were more on the back burner for many players' preferred build choices, not because they weren't fun, but they were limited with their full damage potential, as well as they were quite limited with where they could farm throughout the game. However, with the introduction to Sunder Charms, as well as the patch updates since D2R's release, has helped to make builds like this more viable and fun to play, adding more value and giving more justification to the high rune cost to be able to make this Dragadin build. The Bear Sorceress. At times, I enjoyed the idea of just being able to walk around. I didn't even need to attack at all. The Holy Shock pulse damage killed everything for me, and if anything lived long enough to actually get close, they will most likely have been taking damage leading up to actually fighting you, so taking them out is much easier. This build is a tank, and she gives everyone what 5 fingers say to the face.
What does the 5 fingers say to the face? What? Slap!
For up to 78,000 damage. And my Magifying Foden, to name a few. This is an amazing Chaos Sanctuary running build, especially with Grayling. Players 1 is the most ideal to run with, but this build can still handle player 7 quite well. Use Fist of Heavens to strike at the monsters outside of the mobs, to be able to allow for the Holy Bulls to spread out and to pierce through as many targets as possible, increasing the AoE, or area of effect. And being that you can stand quite far away and still inflict a lot of damage that will expand from the initial impact of the Lightning Strike, this build is easy to learn to play and is also very safe. As well as budgeted versions for those with either not a lot of time or wealth within the game that are still a lot of fun to play, such as the budgeted Energy Shield Nova Sorceress. For the gear, it's important to understand where the focus is on for why this gear is chosen. Damage reduction, boost to mana and mana after kill to constantly replenish it, helping with lightning damage, FCR, and plus the skills wherever we can get it. This build, as it's set up, works best with the idea that the damage from the Novas isn't really high, but with the Sunder Charm as well as the negative enemy lightning resistance, it helps to have the damage go further to do more without needing semi-expensive to GG gear to perform well. This is great for those who maybe were like me and didn't give this build a try until several years after playing other Sorceress builds. It is limited mostly to players 1. However, with how well it performs in the pits, a level 85 area, with more Magifying gear and maybe a weekend of farming, the potential for the drops that could boost your damage output are quite high, helping you to take this build further and to make it even more viable and effective with farming, increasing clear speed, and overall just becoming even more fun to play. Budget Magifying Foden. I tried to focus on having this build be on the late Nightmare to early Hell side of budget, limiting to mostly players 1 runs to still have good clear speed mixed with good survivability. For those Grayling, running the Chaos Sanctuary is a level 85 area, So if solely targeting the champions and boss packs, there is no need to bump it up higher than players 1 anyway. Desace is usually the one to be concerned with most, but because of the ability to cast from a distance, and the Holy Bolt fanning out from the initial lightning strike, he and his minions are no trouble at all. Do be careful taking this build to places such as the Whirlstone Keep, because if you end up running into souls, budget traps in. I'm leaving the rest of the inventory blank as a means of showing this build has a lot more room for improvement, but wanted to put together this character to show that, with just throwing together gear and not really focusing on specific breakpoints, for those that are wanting to test the build out on a budget, it can and still will work just fine. This is not the most ideal budget version of this build, but it still works well to have new players of this build have a good understanding of how this build is going to play out. You can swap around pieces for more damage, magic find, or survivability, but I wanted this build to reflect a good mix of all 3 aspects, with room for improvement as it still plays well as it is. And hopefully those who would be curious to try out this build would want to expand on what they prioritize with this build to make it even more ideal for them. Budget Poison Nova Necromancer. Even on a budget, this build can still destroy very fun areas to play, especially for those grailings such as in the pits, or rune farming in cows. When casting Poison Nova, you want to cast once, wait a few seconds, and then recast as spamming the skill will reset the time of the poison damage being dealt to not be fully effective. And the patch 2.6 Runeward inspired mosaics in, to name a few. For the gear, starting from the top, I'm using Bulwark for the helm, Hustle for the body armor, and Dual Mosaic for the claws. Okay, this is too easy. Let's go ahead and bump up the players count. Huh. Really? There was also taking builds through Ubers to be able to get a torch, and to see how well overall that they performed. Some of them include the Reaper Wolf Barbarian, the Demon Machine Sorceress,
My brothers will not have died in vain.
the Budget Punch Only Barbarian,
I can't.
the Endgame Punch Only Barbarian, the Fury Druid.
My brothers will not have died in vain.
And the Mosaic Sin, to name a few, of which, with her, I tested to see which headwear would be more ideal to use. Griffin's Eye, or Flickering Flame. There was also pushing the limits with the mercenaries being able to solo the Ubers, such as with the Act 2 mercenary. This led to my ethereal Reaper's Toll, and this item being ethereal does more damage than its non-F counterpart, especially if the enhanced damage rolls well. Followed shortly after with the Act 1 Mercenary. This is how Hustle was when I left to go on vacation. Then the patch notes came out when I got back, and this is what they ended up doing to it. That's how I turned all of these bows down for this one.
What? Oh, hell no!
There is also several drop highlights, such as the Baradin dropping a Burr rune on the very first run,
What? Hello, cutie pie.
literally pre-buffed in the first run in, no testing it out prior, and this is players 1. If there was a reason you need to try this build, I don't know what other reason you would need aside from this. The most insane back-to-back drops the first couple runs in when trying to find an area to farm,
Hello, cutie pie.
But I'm not done yet.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm!
Please, God.
Oh, hell no!
as well as a run project that included Mephisto, what is arguably the best drop of these runs, and why I cleared the entire level in Endurance of Hate level 3. 3 runs later, at run 143, a Bloodlord drops a unique demon head, which is Endariel's Visage. Unfortunately not ethereal to be able to benefit from my Mercenary, but still a great drop to get in these runs. Thrush Socket, the first noteworthy drop from Thrush Socket came at run 37, another unique Phase Blade, but this time it rolled as Lightsaber. What are the odds that within the first 50 runs, I get both unique Phase Blades to drop? Pindleskin, this is up there in my top favorite rare rings that I've ever found. At run 96, Pindleskin appears after a long hiatus with a generous rare attack rating, dual leech, with life, mana, and poison resistance ring. And Eldritch. The last noteworthy drop of this project happened at run 238, with Eldritch finally making his debut. However, it was quite the drop to make up for all the runs where he gave me nothing worth mentioning. He and his minions dropped me a low rune, a very desirable rune to be able to make Grief or Fortitude, and a great drop to be able to wrap up this run project. There were also more beginner guides to be able to learn different mechanics and aspects within the game, such as a beginner's guide with everything you need to know about crafting hit power gloves. Today, we're going to be discussing hit power gloves, as far as what could potentially roll on the gloves, the Hereditary Cube recipe you'd use to be able to craft them, the important information when it comes to your character level as far as being able to either shop or gamble for the base item, and much more. And we're going to wrap it all up with being able to craft some hit power gloves for ourselves in hopes of being able to get something GG to roll. As well as a beginner's guide with everything you need to know about crafting yourself a caster belt. There is another option to still get FCR on your belt, and it's really easy to obtain, very cheap, and goes very underrated, and that's with crafting caster belts. With these belts, there's so many different factors that went into the consideration of what were the best rolls. The FCR varied from 6% all the way up to 10%, however, most of them were in the 9 to 10% range. but the additional stats that were not guaranteed all help to make these belts worth more than just solely replacements for builds for those still on the hunt for Arachnid's Mesh. But the biggest highlight of them all was just simply to show different ways to be able to continue having fun within this game. There was a lot more that I was able to cover on this channel this year than what I was able to show in this video. But if this kind of content is for you, make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button with the notification bell on, so that way you get notified when future videos come out.
Come on. Come on. Come on, then. There you are. There you are.
If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by leaving a like. That way it helps with the YouTube algorithm to be able to notify you the things that you actually want to see. And for any of you guys that are waiting for new content, make sure to go check out some of the playlists on the channel already, especially the playlist that's going to be in the top right corner, so that way you guys can go check out all of my Diablo 2 Resurrected content in the meantime while I work on future videos. Thank you all so much for such a fun and productive year. 2023 was quite the year for the channel, not only in growing the channel itself and pushing myself as a content creator, but to be able to expand on the content that you guys enjoy. And I cannot wait to see what it is that we're able to get into in the upcoming year, 2024. I hope you all not only had a great holiday with being able to spend time with friends and family when it came to Christmas, but also have a great start to your new year in 2024. Other than that, again, thank you guys so much for helping this channel to grow to become what it is, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay safe and take care.